Hey, how's it going, everybody? Thanks all for tuning in. I'm Jordan, developer relations engineer here at Block, and today we're doing something. Oops, as I hit the microphone. Today we're doing something kind of silly, kind of different. I'm definitely not an Android developer, nor am I a Kotlin developer, but we have a change that we want to make to the Goose Mobile repo. Which is basically to support more LLMs, and specifically we want to support the provider OpenRouter. And so in order to do that, we're going to have to make some code changes. And being that I am not someone that knows how to do these things, I'm going to rely heavily on the AI agent Goose to go ahead and basically get that thing implemented in there. And so we're going to implement a few different tactics here, some like things that I try to do when working in a new code base. And basically, it's in the realm of Goose itself is kind of ephemeral, and eventually you're going to run out of that context limit. So what I like to do is I like to have kind of like an exploratory phase with Goose where it goes through this repository. It's going to like up its context on a bunch of stuff. It's going to understand the problem that I'm going to be explaining to it of like what we're trying to solve. And then I'm going to kind of at the end of that session, after I feel like, okay, this context is good, Goose has like a pretty good understanding of like where we're going to try and fix this or implement this feature, I should say. I'm going to have it write its solution to just like a markdown file that we can then start a new session. We can tell the new agent where we're going to have fresh context to basically go back in, read that markdown file, and kind of understand where we're at with the project and like kind of where we got to in our previous session, and to now start implementing it. And then of course relying very heavily on things like just like Git to be able to keep track of the changes that Goose is making to the repository. We can kind of review them, and then we can just make sure that we have all of that set up nicely on its own little Git branch. And then we'll be able to hopefully by the end of this be making a pull request to the main Goose Mobile repo and be making changes. And so you might be asking, well, Jordan, if you are not an Android developer nor a Kotlin developer, why are you the one tasked with working on this? And just being the DevRel that was supporting the launch of Goose Mobile, I am more than happy to try to jump in on this project to help out where I can. The internal project team has bigger fish to fry with the project than updating the OpenRouter stuff. So I figured this could be some fun content, a little bit of humility as things are probably going to go wrong. But I think it's also going to be a lot of fun. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and we are going to pull up this page here. I'm going to move myself down there. And hopefully this is showing up nice and readable for most folks. We can, whoa, that's like really big. It's kind of nice though. So I have this Android project open. I've gone ahead and I've ran it, which there was a small play button in here when I started the project. I clicked it. It went ahead and opened an Android emulator. We kind of got things going. The Goose project built and installed on the machine, and I kind of went ahead and pre-configured Goose Mobile to be running. And I also installed Discord. So just to like kind of give like a quick thing of like what Goose Mobile does, as I can say something like, I can do something like pull up whatever this is. Can I type again? There we go. Okay. So I can say something like, hey, Goose, can you go post in the, let's see, what's the name of the channel here? Just in the Goose channel, in the Goose channel of the Block open source Discord server. And say, hey, say, hey, I am live now streaming on our YouTube page where I am improving or adding a new feature to Goose Mobile. Come check it out. So let's just make sure. Yeah, I think that's going to work. So I'm going to go ahead and send that. So Goose is going to go ahead. It's going to kind of read that. It's going to go open up Discord. We can see it's just kind of like doing this all on its own. Maybe getting a little bit stuck on the landing page here. Oh, okay, I haven't done the agreement stuff. Go ahead and close that. Okay. Yeah, there's prerequisites. All right. So let's go ahead and make sure Discord can like actually do the thing that I want it to do. Oh, and I have to verify my email. Very good, very good. Let me do that really quick from my mobile device. Yeah, so basically I'm just kind of giving like a small demo of Discord here. I'm just gonna go ahead and verify my login on my physical phone over here. Oh, and of course the original link that it sent me, it expired. So we're gonna go ahead and resend that to myself. Go ahead and verify email. And okay, there we go. So now I can complete this, and now we should actually be able to post in the Discord community here. So let's go ahead and, okay, let's try that one more time. And of course, enter doesn't work. I have to actually click it because it's an emulator. I also forget that, yeah, okay, there it goes. Okay, awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, so Goose is continuing to think. It sees maybe that it's in the channel here. Opened up a message. Hey, it's working. That's awesome. And hopefully it sends. There it is. So if you're watching the stream now and maybe you're in Discord, you saw that Goose Mobile just like went ahead and did that on its own. Pretty cool. I kind of love the way that the agent can interact with these different apps on my phone. So yeah, that's just kind of like a brief example of Goose. My other favorite example that I had recorded previously was just showing how Goose could go into an app like Discord. It could find information in there and then take that information and send it over into a different app or whatever. So like I had set like some like directions or yeah, like directions that were sent in a Discord message, and Goose could go read that Discord message and then go open up Google Maps and put that address into Google Maps. So yeah. Anyways, so that's the fun playing around part. Now we get to the part where I'm going to definitely be exposing how little I know about Android development and Kotlin in general. But we are going to go ahead and do our best here. So we'll go ahead and minimize that because that's distracting. Here's my notes for the stream. This is kind of like the agenda of what we're going to do. So I've kind of like done these two things so far. So now I'm going to introduce the problem to Goose. And in doing so, close that as well. In doing so, we want to kind of be loading this context into Goose, as I mentioned earlier. If you're just joining now, hello, thank you for joining. We're basically going to load in the problem to Goose. We're going to have it explore this repository. And from there, we're going to like collect the information on what we think we need to do. And then I'm going to have Goose write that to like a markdown file to kind of have like a long-term storage of kind of where we're at with the project, so that a next session of Goose can be referring to what it is that we're trying to do. And so I can see that I've got Goose located in my Goose Mobile directory where I want it to be. And so we'll say, hey, Goose, this is a current directory in Android projects called Goose Mobile, formerly known as Gosling, which that's a fun fact for those of you tuning into the stream to kind of get a little bit of a behind the scenes look. When this project started internally, we were calling it Gosling, but we've now switched it over to Goose Mobile as to make more sense to the general public. But I always thought it was a pretty cute name. Please have a look around and familiarize yourself with the project, as well as we are trying to implement a new feature today where we enable OpenRouter as a like LLM option, or maybe provider, LLM provider in the settings and onboarding of the project, so that users can better identify or can better state like what LLM they want to use. We won't be making any changes right now. I just want you to explore how it works and explain back to me what you have found. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and send that off. And yeah, and so we can see over here, I've kind of like, I did a little bit of exploring around this repo. And so I will kind of talk about this for a moment while Goose is running and doing its reading and stuff. So as a primarily like TypeScript, React front end type of developer, and that's my usual background. I kind of just was like opening up things in here. Unfortunately, this project is like pretty cleanly laid out. Like, when you like come into this sidebar here, which is also like hilariously tiny, and I'm not sure how to make that any bigger. And I apologize for that. But there's just like a few different subdirectories here. And then there's just like, there's a shared directory for like shared screen type of stuff, which feels very familiar to me as like working with like React components and stuff, and kind of having like page overviews that are like reusable. And then there's just like a features section. And then so I kind of originally went looking for like, oh, okay, like let's go look at settings, because that's like the page that that this is all taking place on. And just to kind of show you that this is the settings page here. We kind of only have this dropdown, and then you put in the API key for that dropdown. And so what I'm kind of thinking here for what we're going to do for this, I guess, feature change is I think instead of like LLM model and then having like we have like all the Open API or OpenAI models kind of hanging out here, and then we have like 2 Gemini models. I'm kind of interested to make it be like, how about like LLM provider? And then so maybe there'll be a drop down, and I don't want to get like too crazy on this like initial pass. So like maybe we'll just do like provider, and we'll set it for OpenAI or Google Gemini as the providers. And then when you select that provider, that will then populate a following drop down that then has the models themselves for that specific provider. So then once we get that working, and we can like, kind of test like, okay, we've just made like a mostly an interface change, but we have it working kind of with parity with where that app is at right now. I'll probably commit those changes to this branch that I'm on, and then we'll be like, okay, now let's add OpenRouter as a provider and its models for this section. Okay, so yeah, if you just tuned in, basically I kind of set Goose Desktop on a task over here to basically go and explore this repo, try to understand things about it, and specific to the problem that we're trying to solve here. And this project's built with Kotlin. Yeah, it's a Kotlin Android project, and I am neither an Android nor a Kotlin developer. So we're seeing how far we can get here with just leaning on Goose to kind of help us like guide through building out this feature. Okay, so yeah, so based on Goose's exploration, it found an LLM provider system. We have 2 enums in the AI model.kt, which is this file here. And yeah, that looks just about right. Yeah, we have 2 model providers, OpenAI and Gemini. Perfect. And then looks like the models kind of have like an object class. I don't understand all of the syntax, but it looks fairly obvious to say like, here's the display name, here's the identifier, and here's the model provider. So that's great. Let's continue looking here. So AI data class, yeah, display name, identifier, provider, perfect. Current available models. Yep. So we have the, I guess it's giving us a subset, but yeah, we have the OpenAI models and then the 2 Gemini models. And we have the settings store for handling storage of the API keys. That's, as a front-end developer, that's probably like similar to like browser local storage, but probably way more secure because it's like all on the device. Let's see, settings screen, and then LLM configuration. Cool. And then agent.kt, call the LLM. Nice. Okay. And then here, okay, so this is what I was wondering too, is like, where in the code do we actually put in the like the endpoints for the APIs, right? So as Goose goes to run and it says, okay, you're using this model, this provider, you have this API key. How did it figure out, which provider it was going to call in? So we just specify for the OpenAI provider, it's this endpoint. For the Gemini provider, it's this endpoint. Cool. Oh, the other thing I meant to do too is just because we're just kind of like hanging out here and I'm doing a lot of reading and thinking, I did mean to like put on some like background music. So hopefully that sounds a little bit less awkward with any time I'm pausing to think that it's not just like totally dead silence. Hopefully that's coming through well. So yeah, here's how it thinks to add OpenRouter support. It needs to stick it in as a new model provider. Pretty easy. Add it to the available model list. Okay, So this is where it's getting a little bit stuck in the like trying to implement it in the ways that we currently have this set up. And so because of OpenRouter's like ability to just like choose different models and stuff and like spanning models across like many different providers, I don't really want it to just be hard coded to, if you select, you know, this one, that we're gonna have just like Claude 3.5 Sonnet, Anthropic, like whatever. I want it to have like a lot more options. Okay, update API handling. I don't know if that's the OpenRouter API. Maybe it is. I feel like OpenRouter did copy OpenAI's layout for a lot of stuff, so I will confirm that before we implement it, or if it's not working later when I try to run it, maybe that'll be part of the issue. Okay, request format. Sure. I'm not going to worry about that section too much. We'll kind of let the AI take the wheel on that. And then tool definitions. This must be the tool definition for the same serialization as OpenAI. Okay, I don't know what tool definitions are. I might have to ask. Is tool definitions an Android thing? Are tool definitions an Android specific thing or something else? And then in the meantime, I just wanted to take a quick look at this agent.kt file. Yeah, okay, cool. And this is where those URL strings are getting set for just like the endpoint of like where we're gonna like send this off to. No, they're not Android specific. They're part of the broader function calling or tool call. Oh, I see. This is I'm sorry. This is tool specific. Doey. Tool specific to the LLM. Okay. And this is the problem of being like, oh, I'm in a space I don't recognize. I'm gonna think everything is yeah. Okay. And then this enables for MCP. This enables for doing all the changes. Yep, that makes a lot of sense. Well, there's my first goof of the day. That's fine. Okay. So there is also an onboarding page or an onboarding feature that is part of the first time setup and also includes selecting a LLM. Can you double check and make sure we don't need to update anything in there either, or anything in there in general? I don't know if it's just reusing the same LLM selection stuff from the settings feature. Okay, so this is just that I didn't demo it here, but the first time that you install Goose Mobile, before you can like start chatting with it and stuff, like you do kind of this like simple onboarding flow where you can kind of just like set Goose as like your default assistant. You can make Goose Mobile your like default homepage or whatever. Let me come back to the comments really quick. Can anybody read the docs window? Sorry about that, Ethans. I didn't see that message here. When you say docs window, are you referring to like the general like code of the repo over here, or just like talking with Goose? And when you reply to that, I'll I'll get that sorted out. But yeah, so anyway, so there's like an onboarding flow that takes place when Goose like initially starts up, and the Goose chat. Okay, perfect. Hopefully that's better. I'm like looking on my. Thanks, Tanya. Shwoop. Hopefully, I'll got that upped. Go even. We'll just go more. I wish I had the Adam Driver as Kylo Ren yelling more and just putting that better. Okay, cool. All right. So basically, I just asked it about like, hey, can you make sure that the onboarding flow doesn't have any like repeated code, or if it has like shared data, whatever. Not as unique as Diet, but goddamn, is Goose fucking cool. That's right. Maybe I shouldn't have read that comment out loud. It's fine. So yeah. So anyway, so there is a shared data source, which I'm going to assume is, yeah, because we are writing to that settings store. So that's awesome. That's okay. I love the energy. I'm really happy to be having like so much interaction while I'm doing this. So thank you. All right, and yeah, shared settings store, identical UI logic, what this means for the OpenRouter implementation. Okay, so now I need to kind of specify, so like now that Goose is like familiar with what's going on, we'll kind of check our context window here. Yeah, we've eaten a fair amount of context on just this exploration alone, so I need to kind of get to the point here with Goose, which is, okay, so now we want to change this model hierarchy a little bit. How do I want to say? So right now the dropdown is just one dropdown for the LLM model. I would love for there to be two dropdowns, one for the provider, which then informs the list of options for the second dropdown. Second dropdown, which is list of options for the second dropdown, which is going to be the models for that specific provider. Yeah, let's focus on making this work with how the app currently functions, and we will add an OpenRouter later. How will this change our code? And let's say don't implement this yet. We are still planning. Thanks. All right. Sometimes I've found that with Goose, even I did kind of like give it a little bit of an action here of like implementing it. And then I try to tell it like, hey, let's not implement it. So we'll see here. Sometimes the autonomous, like sometimes Goose is a little bit of a silly goose and a little bit of like chaotic good. And it might just start trying to change code, but that's okay. If it does do that, I'll probably just revert those changes and then have it write down to the like a local markdown file of like what we're doing. Okay. So what does it say? We're gonna make this scalable, organized, single dropdown. Okay, so provider dropdown, OpenAI, Gemini, future OpenRouter. Yep, model dropdown. There's the current, the new approach. So current is IT identifier to IT.displayName. Group models by provider. Okay, it.provider. Whoa, I was still reading that, bud. Okay, so state management, we need to change state based on what thing gets selected is more or less what that seems like, because the first dropdown is going to inform the state of the second dropdown, so that makes sense. Current storage impact. So this is how it currently stores model identifiers. So options for storage. So we can keep the current format, store a full identifier, derive provider/model on load. Don't really love that. Store separately, add settings.store or settings.store.llm provider and change LLM model to store just the model name, or store as provider model format. I feel like options 2 or 3 are probably going to be better options. That first option definitely feels like this option here kind of feels a bit like a hack. One of these two feels probably like a better long-term thing, something that the maintainers of the Goose Mobile project wouldn't be as upset about seeing in a pull request. Okay, so core logic, ammodel.kt might need some other methods for grouping by provider. Okay, and potentially new storage format. Backwards compatibility, need to handle users who already have a model selected. Yes and no. I don't know. I feel like maybe after this thing gets pulled through, I would just send out a message to people like, hey, uninstall Goose Mobile and reinstall it. I mean, this thing isn't in experimental phase, so I'm not going to totally throw out backwards compatibility, but that feels like that's going to make this more complicated, and that's not nearly as necessary right now. And then low complexity, yeah, adding helper methods. Sorry, I keep hitting the microphone. Adding helper methods to group models by provider, UI changes, considerations, default behavior. When a user, which model should be selected by default? good questions. Okay. So now Goose is giving me its recommendations, which is to keep storing the full model identifier here on UI load, derive provider from the stored model on UI save, combine. Oh, okay, that's kind of interesting. I guess that solves the backwards compatibility problem. Separate storage, add settings, store to LLM provider, change settings, store to LLM model to store just the model name within the provider. That requires migration logic. Yeah, that's fair. UI logic, yeah, provider do drop down. I like the way it kind of drew out these drop downs with text. Very cute. So benefits of this approach: scalability, easy to add new providers without cluttering a single drop down. Yep, organization, clarity, state management for cascading drop downs. Okay. I'm feeling pretty good here. Let me take a look at it. Nice. I was wondering if you use Silly Goose. Silly Goose is definitely an endearing term, I think, for the most part. Sometimes I feel like it's used to maybe kind of remind people that, you can't fully rely on Goose to just do everything. Which is why I'm really trying to read what it's saying here, because sometimes, LLMs, they kind of like to come up with their own little ideas on things for things that don't exist. And so sometimes instead of getting mad at the goose, it's more fun to call it a silly goose, and you can feel a little bit less upset about it. Okay, so maybe we'll start with option 1 first to get just because it'll be a little bit less complex, and we can get the UI changes in and kind of make sure that that's working. And then we could later migrate over to option 2. Maybe I'll suggest that. So maybe we start with option 1 to get this functioning and have current feature parity. And then after that, maybe implementing option 2 will be a little easier. Okay, so we'll see kind of what, oops, Goose comes back with that. I'm so sorry for continuing to hit the microphone. I'm very new to live streaming. So I am learning while going. Okay, so absolutely, that's a smart approach. I love the way though that LLM just continues to stroke my ego of you are the smartest person, which I kind of wish I could tone it down. I wish I could tell the LLM that I'm not a smart person. In fact, in this moment right now, I am horribly out of my own element with Android and Kotlin development. So if I suggest something that sounds like a bad idea, I need you to call me out on that. And maybe if I said that in the instructions, maybe if I said hey, Goose, pretend you're a hardened senior engineer who just hates when people ask questions and needs people to figure things out on their own. That's the way you need to treat me when I'm asking you things or something. I haven't really tried that in the past yet, but this is kind of giving me some inspo to to try that out, see what happens. Okay, so why option 1 makes sense first? Yeah, feature parity, no migration logic, faster implementation, easy rollback. Yeah, okay. All right, so I guess we still have enough context window that maybe we could implement this, but it's always a risk, because once I start telling Goose to go change code and stuff, and then it keeps loading more code into its context. Oh, thanks, Ace, I appreciate that. And so yeah, I always get worried that it's going to start implementing stuff, and I have all of this wonderful context that it's implementing off of, and then we run out of that context window, and there's things that we can do in Goose, summarizing the context and starting a new session and stuff like that. But it's always just it's really hard when especially if it runs out of context in the middle of changing a file or something. I find that trying to recover from that situation is exceedingly difficult. So this is what I'm going to do now is just okay, awesome. Can you make a new markdown file in this directory called plan.md and summarize what we are going to do. And summarize what we're going to do. I will be using this plan to help inform my next Goose session on the task we are trying to accomplish. One of my favorite things about Goose is like I can write so little and it writes so much. And there's just a large appreciation for that because it's going to write like a really substantial summary with a lot of info. It's going to have like way more information. It's going to have way more information than what I would have written up if I tried to summarize the session kind of on my own. And Goose is also like aware of like, what are things that it was spitting out in here that was just for me to help me, because like I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just kind of vibing over here inside of an Android code base, and I'm trying to be really delicate with it because I'm going to be trying to contribute this code back into the Goose Mobile repo, and I don't want to be wasting the time of the maintainers. I don't want to be putting up a bunch of like slop code. So I'm definitely like trying to start minimal with my changes here, see things that are working, and hopefully by the end of it, like I have a gut feeling that there shouldn't be that much code changes. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Let's see here. So Ian says, Jordan will be a Kotlin pro after the session. Watch him publish a how-to course on Udemy next week. Yeah, that's maybe if I was like a hustler trying to make that bread. And then have you tried the voice transcript to just talk to Goose instead of typing your messages? I haven't tried that, and maybe this would have been a great session to try that out. The problem is like it's like one of those things where like when when like someone puts a camera on you and you're being recorded, you like suddenly your like brain doesn't function anymore and you like can't get a coherent thought out. I feel like as soon as I click like the record button, it's just gonna, my brain is just gonna like, I'm gonna start seeing the words coming out on the screen as I'm saying them, and then I'm gonna get totally distracted by that. I have a bit of a goldfish brain, but it would be fun to try it. Maybe if I tried it like had like my eyes closed or something, so like I wasn't thinking about the fact that I'm like talking to the AI. Okay, but anyways, hey, thanks for coming to join and watch. Okay, so let's take a look here. I told it to make a markdown file in my app. I don't see it in there. Development Goose Mobile plan.md. Maybe just it could be that Android is just like, yeah, okay. So this like Android Explorer is a bit of a liar, and it doesn't show me all the files. It just shows me things that are relevant to the Android project, I guess, which is, it's great and all. I'm also gonna make my terminal window a lot bigger here. So let's open this up in my more preferred IDE, and we'll open up code plan.md, and let's just kind of take a look at what Goose has written out for us here. Cool. Okay. Yeah, nice. This is awesome. So yeah, we're enhancing an LLM provider section from the UI to a 2 drop-down system of provider and model. Set of the current single dropdown with all models mixed together. Current state, single dropdown showing all models from all providers. Yep. Goal, transform the UI to a provider dropdown. 2-phase approach. Minimal storage changes. And this is just wonderful. I very much appreciate this type of thing. This is like one of my favorite aspects of Goose is its ability to write like a comprehensive informative file. Yep, it calls out the different files that Goose should need to know about, and then a phase 2, and then a testing strategy for phase 1, success criteria. Okay, I think we are ready to try this out. So I'm going to go ahead and open up a new Goose session, and hello, thank you. Cool. Also, loving the new Goose UI. I just got this installed maybe like 3 days ago. I do love the metrics. I do wonder how expensive 237.21 million tokens is. I've been going a little crazy with it, but it's been fun. All right, and then when I've been on camera specifically for anything work-related, the desire to say cuss word rises. Yes, Tanya, and you know me. I have like an absolute sailor mouth, and I'm trying very hard to reel that back in and kind of keep this fairly PG. Something fun about work on something extreme is I take a moment to snack. Yeah, I wish I had a snack. I should have grabbed a snack. I do have some water. Okay, all right, so we have that markdown file written in this directory. So now I can tell this new session, hey Goose, in this current directory is a, I'll just say plan.md file. Please take a look at it and come back to me after you understand the task at hand. All right, maybe we can swap up the music a little bit here for those who have been here for a while. I'm just getting a little bit repetitive. We'll do night driving. Gotta love the royalty-free music options. When Rizal was showing me how to set up StreamYard, she was like, you can always upload your own music too. And I was like, nobody wants that. No one wants my own music. Okay, cool. So, yep, Goose found the file, kind of read it, said, yep, this seems great. Okay, so we're going to get into actually changing some code now and see what happens. We can see down in here that I am on a new branch. This is really important when working. We all want Jordan's music. No, you don't. No. Okay. So we're on this new branch. This is great. So as these code changes happen, I'll be able to just like git diff or just like see what's been changed in the repo and just kind of be able to like understand that all better. So, all right, let's go ahead and implement phase 1. I hope you're ready because I'm slightly nervous. I don't know. It's hard. Normally when I do this kind of thing, I'm pretty comfortable knowing that like Goose is making the right changes. But we're trusting here, and it's very little fallout if this goes wrong. So, all right. Well, now while Goose is running, I'm probably going to grab a drink of water. Goose seems to take an interactive chain of thought process to coding. Is that simulated in a single shot, or does it actually iterate? That's a great question. I definitely, just me being a human, I guess, and like, I definitely take like an iterative chain of thought, I guess, as I'm like working through a code base. Maybe it's just doing that because it kind of feels the way that I'm inputting into it, and the way I'm like kind of telling it like, this is what I want to be doing, and kind of the order I want to be doing it in, that, Goose is then trying to mirror that input back to me. Because it's, I don't know, I depends also probably on the models themselves and stuff. But I'd be curious, if anyone else in the chat has had different experiences with Goose, or just different LLMs in general, for how the models like kind of think through stuff. I would definitely be curious to like see your thoughts on that. Okay. Wow. All right. So we're making code changes. Let's see here. So getting carried away. Are we goosing around? We're just new goose goofing. Now let me look at the onboarding LLM configuration file, implement phase 1, AI model.kt, update screen or settings screen, KT to implement the 2 dropdown. I need to fix the launched effect that references the old variable name. I need to replace the old single dropdown with the 2 dropdown system. Let's remove the unused model variables since we're no longer using it. Let's update the LLM configuration.kt for onboarding. Missing imports. Yeah, Goose is just cooking right now. Sometimes I make Goose iterate before replying to me as I get further into a workflow. But I don't typically expect or always want Goose to iterate in each prompt or reply. Yeah, that's fair. My latest thing with Goose outside of coding, just like while Goose is still running here, has been, so I've been trying to learn Italian for the last maybe 2 years. And so I think this is actually where this is a great example, Ian, where the dictation thing would actually be really good, because practicing spoken Italian is like really difficult, and also like really nerve-wracking. And it's kind of nice to try and do that with an AI. I think I've done sessions with Goose where I ask it to only speak in Italian, and I we'll kind of just do like sessions of like various sentences that I'm like interested in like trying to learn, and kind of asking Goose to like help me learn them. But yeah, this like using the like microphone to do that would be really cool. Okay, so perfect. The build is successful. Let me create a summary of what we've implemented in phase 1. Sweet. Let's just do like a git status really quick. Nice. And we've only got 3 files that changed. I love that. If this can be as minimal of a file change stuff as possible, and I'm not just like going to be tossing this onto developers who have to review like a bunch of code, that makes me feel more confident that this will actually get pulled in as part of the code base. All right, so I don't see the changes here, but I'm gonna guess that Android doesn't do hot reloading. It probably has to like rebuild. Do I stop it and start it? I don't know. This looks like it'll just like do it again. Sure. I don't know. Oh, that's funny. All right, that like made Goose run again. Ooh, but we have a new UI here. Okay, I don't know why like restarting it made Goose like run a prompt again. But yo, look at that. This is new. This is new. Okay, so OpenAI, it has these models selected. If I switch to Gemini, nice. Wow. Dang. Maybe I do need to do a Udemy course, Ian. Might actually be able to pull that off. Okay, so that is all still there. Let's just like make sure, like test. Do you still work? Do you still read that proper API key? Yeah, that's working. So I would be curious to know if I switch off of, let's just say I switch to Gemini and I don't have an API key for Gemini, and then I come back. I keep hitting enter like it's gonna actually send the message. Okay, so it seems like it's still reading. Okay, so I switched and then it didn't, maybe I need to like put in an API key. I'll just put in some like random garbo here. There's no like physical like save this configuration button, so maybe that's a feature that we actually need to add in this case. I actually didn't really test how this might work in the previous version, or like before we made these code changes of whatever. I know that like if I delete the API key, yeah, it's still okay. So kind of what's going on here is when I change my provider and model, it's not overwriting like my current provider and model. So we do have the interface changes. We might even be writing this stuff to the local storage, but the way that Goose is, or the way that Goose Mobile like reads this information seems to not be getting updated correctly. So I'm just going to kind of like pass that on to Goose to figure out, because there's no way I'm going to be able to go diving through this code to figure out what exactly needs to change. All right, the UI looks excellent. Problem so far is that if I change my provider and LLM and add a fake API key, nothing seems to update. It seems we default back to my already configured and saved implementation, or not implementation, configured and saved API, all right, configured and saved LLM. Can you look into why this might be happening, or maybe not why this is happening? All right, the Udemy course would be one lesson. Just use Goose. That's right. I can send you a Gemini key to try it out if you want. Oh, that would be awesome, Ian. I trained myself to not to years ago. I pause instead. Yeah, speech to text frequently hangs up on me. That's really funny. I'm like horrible with so I really apologize for that again. This is first time doing a live stream. Hopefully the ums haven't been like super annoying and frustrating. Yeah, as I follow that up with an All right, so you're absolutely right. Yeah, that's right, Goose. I am right because I just tried it out and this is what's happening. I feel confident about that. I can see the issue. The problem is in cascading drop-down logic, and the provider changes. We're automatically resetting to the first model of that provider, but we're not saving this change to the settings store. Oh, well, we should do that. So when the user manually selects a different provider, the UI updates, but the actual stored setting remains unchanged. Okay, and then Goose found the issue. The problem is in the launched effect logic. When the provider changes, it's automatically overriding. It's automatically overriding the API key with the stored one for that provider, even if the user just typed in a different one. So we need to fix issues on line 140 to 146. And which file is this in? I want to go look at those. Settings screen, okay. Perfect, I've identified the fix, the issue. The problem was that the launch effect blocks were automatically overwriting. Okay. Change provider, change model within same provider, type in new API key, and etc. Okay. We'll wait for Goose to finish running there before I go ahead and restart the thing. I don't know why Goose is telling me like 6 different times that it found the issue or found the problem. It's really funny. Okay, now fixed. How are we doing on content? Yeah, see, okay. This is why I'm glad I started a new session. We would have been pretty much running up to the end of our context here if I was trying to implement these code changes during that last session. Okay. Let's see here. We got that. Okay, this clicking restart seemed to work. It also like made Goose run again, which was kind of funny, but great. So we have, okay, well, this time it remembered I had, this time it's like loading in on Gemini and Gemini Flash. So let's just make sure that this should fail because it's just like a fake API key in here. That's looking good. Hey, Goose fixed it. That's awesome. Appreciate it. So yeah, so this is running here. Error failed after 3 attempts. And then, yeah, I don't know. There's probably a way to expand that error, the like toast message. Okay, so Ian sent me a key to try with Gemini. Let's go find that really quick. If you want to tinker, just erase it afterwards. Ian, I'm assuming this key will work with Gemini Flashlight or Gemini Flash. I'm terrible with these LLM stuff. I basically am, I'm very, I'm very Claude pilled. Is that what the kids say? I'm very Claude coded. I pretty much love Claude Sonnet 4. It's the main one that I typically use. And I don't care about the other models because Claude just works really well. And in fact, it's Claude 4 Sonnet that's helping us implement these changes on Android right now. So huge fan. Okay, so now we have pasted in the API key that Ian sent me. And let's just go ahead and clear that conversation. And let's just say test. Wow, and that just started working immediately. Wow, my God, that is so cool. Okay, we are cooking. So what happens if I go back to the OpenAI model? Ooh, and it has my OpenAI model saved. So I can just kind of like, once I set one up, it just kind of sticks these ones in here. Dang. All right, y'all. We got 10 minutes left, and I think we're almost done. This is awesome. So, all right. This is working exceptionally well. And I'm very stoked. I would, maybe don't waste your tokens on like human speech things like this with Goose, especially like if you're paying for your own tokens. This is Block's money that I'm wasting by being friendly with the AI. And sometimes being friendly with AI does kind of promote better output from it, I guess. But you really don't need to tell it all of these extra tokens. I just like to. Okay, so let's implement OpenRouter. And within OpenRouter, let's support Claude 3.5, Claude 4, and I don't know, a couple of the OpenAI models. We won't implement phase 2 storage yet because I'm happy the storage is currently working. All right, let's see what happens. Let's see if we get OpenRouter up and running in this thing, because this will be awesome. I see we have a couple more people that have joined the stream. Thanks for coming. We've just been kind of hanging out and progressing along here. We're making some changes to Android code, or Android Kotlin code with Goose. Goose has been doing a great job. We kind of spent the first part of the session kind of laying out our problem, the things we're trying to solve. We had Goose kind of explore the code base to figure out what things it would need to change. We then went ahead and we wrote out a plan to a markdown file here to kind of lay out, here's the things that we want it to do. And then I started a new Goose session, and I told Goose to go ahead and just go ahead and read from that plan file and start kind of implementing from there. The main thing that we're working on is we are previously, this section here was just a model dropdown, and it had all of our models kind of mixed in there. But we need to support OpenRouter as a provider, just because we use OpenRouter API keys quite a bit. We also know that a lot of people in our community use OpenRouter API stuff. And so it just feels like a good change to have inside of Goose Mobile here. So Goose is currently, we adapted our hierarchy here to kind of have feature parity with how Goose Mobile currently works, but with just 2 different dropdowns now, and the dropdowns change depending on which provider you select. And so now that we have kind of feature parity with where Goose was at, or Goose Mobile was at, I'm now just saying, all right, let's go ahead and implement support for OpenRouter now that we kind of have this like better laid out kind of setup. And so Goose is just working away on that. I can't see my token usage anymore, which is worrisome. I don't know. Don't know why that stopped showing up. I have to bring that up in our internal Goose channel and be like, what's going on with that? Because normally this should tell me where my context is at. There's a great cartoon where a robot saves one of the humans during the AI Armageddon and says, he always said please. Yeah, I love that. There's a long-running inside joke with me and my fiance. Pretty much whenever there's a spider in the house, she always, calls on me to come and kill the spider. But I have this maybe personal conspiracy that like maybe the afterlife is just all spiders. And it's just, which sounds like a terrifying afterlife, but maybe that's the case. And so maybe the spider overlords will smile down upon me for all the spiders that I save. Because when she calls for me to come kill them, I usually grab a cup and I scoop the spider up, and then I go put it outside somewhere, which maybe the spider dies almost immediately after I put it outside. I don't know. I'm giving the spider a second chance, and I think that's And I think that's I don't know. I think giving it a second chance is a good enough cause of, hey, look, the spider can't be living in the corner of my. Yeah, I also don't want to kill them. I just don't. That's true. Spiders are helpful. We get a lot of bugs up here. And they eat them. All right. So yeah, Goose Goose cooked. And Goose cooked hard. Okay, we're back on our token. Yeah, we're getting a warning here. So before, if there's any like fixes that need to happen here, I'm actually just gonna tell Goose to like, hey, let's go update that markdown file, and just like kind of update with like where we got to. Okay, so yeah, this is pretty cool. Added OpenRouter to the model provider. They added some different models to it and added this new endpoint. Okay, all right, maybe this just works. We'll go ahead and restart our emulator here, like rebuild. Let's come back into here. Oh, okay, we have OpenRouter. Oh, we have our, okay, it did not put in Claude 4, which I'm a little bit peeved about because I'm pretty sure I definitely specified to put in Claude 4, but whatever. Okay, and then where did I stick I had went ahead and grabbed oh my god, that's so, oh, I remember where I put it now. I was like, I grabbed an API key for OpenRouter to be able to test this. And I was like, where did I put it? Okay, so now we will stick in our API key for OpenRouter, which is there now. We're gonna go back. We'll clear all of our conversations. Yeah, okay, test, I guess. Do you work? Ah, no. Okay, it errored out on something. So we're gonna have to try and prompt Goose to figure out what went wrong there. Maybe I should also make sure that the OpenRouter API is actually the one that like Goose kind of assumed it was. I didn't. Let's see here. OpenRouter API endpoint. Quick start. Okay. Yeah, okay, so it is OpenRouter API chat completions. Okay, well, it does seem to have the right endpoint, but all right, so here's what we're gonna do. Okay, awesome. We are running out of context for this session, so please create a new file called plan2.md, which tracks where we got during this session. Unfortunately, OpenRouter is not working as of the latest changes. Please track this info and I will start a new session. How do I find myself summarizing between sessions or having to? When working in like a large code base, and especially one like, if I'm working in a code base that I know, I do find that my token management is better because I don't need to ask Goose to like go explore all the code base and like waste a bunch of tokens for it to go look around and kind of up its context. I can more specifically like I guess just like snipe the idea that I wanted to go fix. Like I'll be like, in this file over here, this is where this change needs to happen, and then also in this file, like this like backend file, this is also where this change needs to happen. And like you don't really need to go look anywhere else. You can like just go build this thing out over there. And so Yeah, I'll find that like with those, it'll be a lot easier and I won't overblow the session. But like if I'm doing like a long kind of like working output with Goose here, I do find that like I'll have to go through a few different sessions, and that's kind of like, it's the same thing like when on personal projects when I've used like Claude Desktop, like all of these agents kind of have this limitation right now, and I do wish that they would figure out ways to kind of like seamlessly chain those sessions if that's possible. You know, I don't know, like we do have this like summarize option, which does help. I do feel like I feel more concerned to like do more reviewing of the summarized option before like agreeing on it or whatever. But that's, maybe I'm just a little bit like paranoid to like lose, you know, really good information or something. But yeah, anyway, so we'll go ahead and start another session here. And please read plan.md and plan2.md. Okay, so I'm basically telling it to read both of our plan markdown files. You might ask, like, why did you have Goose write a second markdown file for the second session, as opposed to just overwriting or updating the first plan.markdown file? And I just find that, like, as your project progresses, like, you as a human are going to have the context of the project progress like as you're going, but each time Goose starts a new session, I mean, this thing has like total amnesia and does not know any historical information. And so when I still have like an open idea like this, where like I'm still trying to iterate through a thing and I want Goose to like understand the process that like I'm mentally iterating through, I kind of like to have like a history of these different markdown files that just kind of shows like where we've been getting and where we've been going. And so yeah, so Goose now is like, it's aware again that we had this two-phase approach that we do eventually want to do. And then it also sees, okay, then in plan 2 is that we did phase 1, and now we're in the middle of starting OpenRouter, getting OpenRouter like implemented, and it's not working. And so now it has kind of that general context. Our context window is nice and fresh. And so I'm going to say, okay, please help resolve the issue for why OpenRouter may not be working. Can you also tell me how you are making the request to the OpenRouter API? The API expects a model to be specified in the, I don't remember if it's in the header or body. Just check that really quick. OpenRouter. Actually, do I have a window open already over here? Nope. OpenRouter API endpoint. So yeah, I just want to make sure. So like when it goes to make this call, this is in, yeah, okay, this is like in the in the body. Okay. Okay, so basically, it could be that Goose maybe pulled some like stale information about how to like connect to the OpenRouter API. So I'm instead of like going around digging for the code to like see where it implemented those things, I'm just going to kind of ask it to surface to me like how it's doing that stuff, so I can kind of review it in here, and then yeah. And if these are not the issues, we may need to dig deeper into the problem. All right, so we're just going to send Goose off on this little task here. And thank you all for who are all still here. I know we're about 5 minutes over. I would love to see the Open API or the OpenRouter API request stuff functioning before ending the stream. But regardless, I'm getting prompted to relog into Databricks. Nice. I was like, what is happening? But yeah, and then after the stream ends or whatever, I'll definitely be following up in the Discord when I like try to go implement what am I trying to say? When I try to go like to make the pull request, I'll probably share the pull request into the stream itself. So cool. So let's see here. So analysis of OpenRouter implementation, request structure. Model.identifier. This is the key issue. Model identifier is potential issue. These are the different model type names. Cloud. Okay. These look correct, but let me verify against OpenRouter's API documentation. The endpoint is correct. Cool. Well, I appreciate that. So Goose is actually going and fetching from the OpenRouter. It's fetching the OpenRouter API models endpoint, and it's just kind of seeing how things come back. So it confirms like, okay, yeah, we have the correct model names. We have the correct format. So, okay, so those things are good. So I'm not as concerned about those anymore. And then we have potential issues found in the agent.kt. So it could be that the missing content type header. It could be the API key format. And then we just need like various error handling. So how the request is being made. Let's see how that lines up to what I was seeing in the docs here. So it's saying whoa, just like flew past where I was looking at. Okay, so Goose is going to add some debugging for us to kind of look at. It's the request body, model, messages, temperature, and tools. I don't see those as options in there, but that's probably things that it supports. Connected the actual OpenRouter API to all your model identifiers are correct. Request, format analysis, API key, issue format, debug steps ahead. Okay. Immediate action items. Create a simplified test version, add a manual API key validation. All right, let's just go ahead and like rerun this really quick. I don't think Goose actually made any real meaningful changes to the code base here, but it will be good to just kind of give this another run through and see if any of its like new output errors are happening. And actually, a question to Rizal, if you're still in the stream. When I grab that OpenRouter API key, is that key specific to Claude 4 through OpenRouter? Because maybe that's also my problem, is that key is, I imagine that's not the case. I don't think that's how OpenRouter works. But yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and just like repaste the key in here. Make sure that I don't have any white space around it. Okay, so we've got that saved in there again. Come back to this. We will go test. And okay, it looks like that still is not working. Under response at character 0. Is there output in? Yes. Okay. Again, not a Android developer, but we do have some failing output that I can actually give to Goose, which is always really helpful. Nice. Okay, so it definitely like tries to query. What was the response? So it gets a 200 response. Okay, I'm just gonna like, we're just gonna go ahead and slap this into Goose, see if Goose figures it out. All right, we seem to be getting a 200 response, but then get this error. We'll see if Goose figures that out. Goose can typically parse debug files like way better. Do I want to paste your API key somewhere separate and check if maybe that has extra characters? Maybe if that's an issue. Yeah, let me try that. Okay, well, Goose is like still looking into that. Let's see here. How's the OpenRouter's returning this? Solution one, try without tools first. Yeah, I guess that's fair. Okay. Did Goose actually fix this, or did it fix the issue by like, it's like, oh, there's a test that's giving an error. Let's delete the test. This means the JSON parser was trying to parse an empty string, which happens when the API returns it. Okay, all right. Okay, is there a way to clear that out? Got it. All right, let's go ahead and restart this really quick. Conversations. All right, and we will run test. All right, and looks like it still continues to get hung up. Oh, yo, there it goes. Okay. All right, so that message worked and sent. It was just a little slow, but that one went through. That is really neat. So it had to disable tools. Okay, so I'm just gonna say like, whatever change you made here, it worked, but I would still like there to be tool calling. So maybe we can get that back on and running. Actually, I'm gonna say it looked like that worked. What did you disable? And what do we need to do to make this work completely? Yeah, nice, awesome. Well, cool. And like an hour and 15 minutes of just kind of hanging out and talking it through, we're seeing some results here. I think what I'll end the stream on is if this is working. Does OpenRouter support tool calling at all? I mean, doesn't it? Pretty positive it does. So maybe there's like some special implementation that needs to happen in order to make the tool calling work. It might just like maybe we have that like not configured correctly, in our current setup for how it needs to work with OpenRouter. Okay, let's get the tool calling to work. Let me look at some docs here really quick, because we might actually be able to tell Goose what it needs to do. OpenRouter tool calling. Request body examples. An interface request with tools. Okay, well, we can just kind of like step 2, interface request with tool results. From OpenRouter's website, here is their various code info for calling tools. So we've got that one in there, and then Is this any different? Sorry. So this is like just like, oh, I scrolled too far. Okay. So step 1, step 2. Secondly, stick that in there, and then third. Okay, so basically what I've done here, sorry for being a little silent there for a minute, but yeah, basically I'm just saying like, I went to OpenRouter's website. They have some instructions on like how calling tools works. I basically just like grabbed that information and kind of laid it out to Goose here of like, here's how it does, here's what it expects. And so I imagine we have like probably programmed out the tool calling for OpenAI and the Gemini models. And maybe they kind of have their own ways of doing it. That part I don't actually know. That's something that something I wish that I had found during the discovery phase. Something I didn't know to ask for necessarily, and something that maybe Goose didn't kind of pick up for me. Of just like, as I'm like, hey, you know, I want to just be like making changes into to like this like settings interface or whatever, you know, but that has further fallout implications. And this is one of those things that like, if I was familiar with this code base, if I was an Android developer, I probably would have known of those, been known to tell Goose to like, hey, we also need to watch out for these things as well. So let's see what Goose comes back with here. I'm kind of throwing a lot at it in a moment, and so it's going to have to think through that. And hopefully it okay, so it says that OpenRouter uses the same exact format as OpenAI. Sweet. Okay, so our current format. So now Goose is going to go check just like our own tool definition call stuff and make sure that we are all aligned over there. And is actually correct. Okay, so it says that we're good. Kind of giving us our Kotlin code for how it lays its things out. Okay, and this is great news. Yeah, I agree. Okay. All right. Basic chat is working. Let's re-enable tool calling, and I will test that again. And I'm just kind of looking at the docs again, just making sure if there's anything else that I might be concerned about. All right. Okay, so we'll go ahead and rerun this. Say, can you open Discord? Not listed amongst the installed apps on here, but it is. It's right there. Okay, how about can you open the weather? Do I not have it? Does Android not have a weather app on it? Is that? I'm also like an iOS person, so okay. How about can you open my email? Because I know Gmail's on here. can you open Gmail? Okay, it looks like it's working. The tool is, it just did tool calling. I don't know why it said retrying. Let's see, and the logs are, I don't have any like new logs spitting out. Okay, so we have like, it feels like a mostly working implementation, but I don't know why it wasn't able to find Discord, which is kind of interesting. And registered received callback. So I definitely have some like more debugging to do here. And yeah, I agree, iOS for the win. I have some more changes to do here before I feel comfortable opening this pull request to the Goose Mobile repo. But I think it was a lot more fun getting to do this with like some folks watching. I loved having all of the like comments and input and stuff. So thank you all for coming and joining. I'm going to go ahead and end the session here. I was hoping to end it with having this new model go and send a message to Discord, but I don't know why it wasn't able to find Discord as like an app on the device at the moment. So we'll have to dig into that. But keep an eye out on the Discord. You might see a message come in there from me later today once I get this the final pieces of this implementation going. And I will definitely be sure to go ahead and share out the pull request to the Goose Mobile repo once I have it. So awesome. Well, yeah, thank you all so much. Hope you had as much fun as I did. And I hope to do more of these in the future. But cool. Yeah, thank you all so much. I'll see you later. As I hit the mic one last time for fun.